Good evening, everybody. We are here for another appointment with the TerrazzaStampa, talking of Formula One and many, many things. This evening, a really special guest from California, United States, Hankammer. Who is Hankammer? Hi, first of all.
Hi, actually.
He has been one of the greatest in the Formula One, 26 years, if I'm correct.
Something like
13 World Championship between Benetton, between Renault and Red Bull when he finished his experience in Formula One, and then the new experience with the Tesla and something more about we talk later. But first of all, let's talk of Formula One, from Schumacher to Vettel, from Benetton to Red Bull. How have been your life in Formula One?
Well, I think I've been very privileged. I was very privileged to work in a motorsports that I followed as a child. My brother used to take me to races, who was quite a lot older than me. So I was inspired by Formula One, and I remember sitting in the grandstands and thinking, I'd love to be over there. You heard the music going, and it was a good atmosphere, and it was something that it was a dream, and I never thought it'd happen. So, but yeah, I'm very privileged.
And your role in those moments?
I started, initially I started on the test team at Benetton, working on the active car program. That was in 1989. Great experience. And active, I think, was a real shame. It left the sport. I think the developer of that would be amazing now. But anyway, yeah, so I was there for about half a year. Then I got promoted to the race team in 1990. And I was the front-end technician, mechanic for Alessandro Nannini, which was fantastic because I was a huge fan of Alessandro Nannini before I went into Formula One. I used to watch him drive the Lancias, sports cars as well, etc. So that was a big deal for me. So I basically was the front end technician for his car, starting in 90, and during the pit stops I was the front jackman.
And then in Renault?
Renault, a couple of things there. I became a number one head mechanic for Fernando Alonso. And during that time, we had obviously, I was his number one mechanic when he won his first race in Hungary, Budapest. And that was an amazing experience, and obviously went on to win championships with Fernando, building his cars, etc. And even during that time, I actually switched over in my time at Renault. I set up a department running the build shop. So it was the first time we had a proper build shop. Instead of the mechanics building all their cars, which were by themselves, this was a proper build shop. So they all built exactly the same. So that was a really, really nice thing to do.
And then with the Renault engine, the big step in Red Bull, many titles, many good moments, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I did come under a lot of criticism when I left Renault, and quite rightly so. I mean, people were saying, why are you going to Red Bull? It's the old Jaguar team. They've only ever finished higher than 7th. And at the same time, I was offered the chief mechanic's job at Renault. But at my time, I was at a stage where maybe I should be stopping in Formula One, or should I go to another team to see if I could help improve things? And I was one of many new people that arrived at that Red Bull team, and after 2 years, we nearly won a championship. So that was great experience.
The emotions to won 8 titles, those moments for consecutive titles for Red Bull, that has been great moment, I think.
Yeah, as you know, as amazing, you know, being part of, you know, building that team, you know, working with, you know, fundamental people like Adrian Newey and, you know, etc. And the great drivers, you know, Mark Webber and Seb, although there was a little bit controversial there, but yeah. But
You have lived the multi 21.
yeah, but, you know, I knew Mark from the Benetton days because, you know, he was Benetton test driver, so I had a relationship there. But yeah, I went through the multi 21. It was a really horrible time, you know. We were all very disappointed in what happened. So, but you know, that's part of racing. It's never going to go away. It's you know, competitiveness and etc. You know.
You have not worked with Max Verstappen right now in Red Bull, but you have an episode, a hot episode with his father in Benetton, no?
Yes. Yeah, I was on front jack when we had the fire, which I think you can see in the picture behind me. There's a breakdown of what happened. Yeah, Jos is great guy. I saw him just last year in China at the Chinese Grand Prix, which is good to see him again. And several other times we keep in contact, social media and stuff. And you know, I remember Max coming into the garage and sitting him in Formula One car. You know, when he was
his first steps outside the car.
Yeah. So that's really good to see. I'm a big Max fan. And yeah, he's incredibly quick. I think Jos summed it up correctly. He's I think he said he's got my balls in his mother's brains.
Yeah.
And that was from Max, right? That was from the Jos side. So yeah.
Do you expect what he's doing now in Red Bull? You could imagine because he was young. Max.
Yeah. No, I couldn't really. I mean, you know, a lot of Formula One drivers have children, and they I'm sure all those drivers are their dreams that they, you know, will become drivers like most do. But you know, there's a massive amount of them that don't go down that road or simply fail because they're not, you know, fast enough. But Max is a full package. He's, like I said, he's incredibly quick, and he's also, you know, he's a smart guy too. So he uses his head on track, and you can see the, you know, the wet weather incidents he's had, and you know, and places that he's just incredible in the wet. So yeah, very, very skillful, and yeah, a huge fan.
Many victories, many good times, some one of the best moments and one of the bad moments in your Formula One experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's many. I mean, I think being at Benetton, winning the first race was you know, amazing, because you know, I remember that time there were people still at Till, and they'd been there since Jackie Stewart's days, and they hadn't won a race in like 20 years. So for us to be a young up and coming team and win our first race was fantastic, and then obviously going on to win a championship, which was you know, first one, which was controversial, but you know, I think a lot of people do forget that basically Schumacher only, you know, supported 12 out of 16 of those races. So, you know, so that is what it is. So low points, the fire was really bad because, you know, we had one car still going around, and and we thought we, you know, to try and gather up enough people to doing it. Another stop was really quite emotional, and we didn't know if we were going to enjoy the same thing again. We didn't have to that race, which was probably worse, because I think if we'd have been able to do it, Michael stopped with a fuel pump problem in that race. Having a 2-week gap to think about it probably didn't do us very good. It's like when you have an accident and you need to get back on a bike fast as possible, you know, and do that. That's pretty low. Obviously, multi 21 was very poor. But Yeah. But I've had a lot of great times and great experiences on and off the track, you know, traveling with a great bunch of guys, which I still, you know, very close with and good friends with. So, yeah, I've been fortunate, I would say.
You miss something of those great old years?
I sometimes, the adrenaline rush, you can imagine, is huge. I try and find other ways of getting that rush. But, you know, to be honest, when you've done something for 26 years, you know, it's a lot of travel. And with the regulation changes and stuff, it become a little bit mundane for me. You couldn't achieve what you wanted to do or were able to do because of the regulations of the track. So yeah, it's changed a lot. We used to do some incredible things at trackside. You know, we had 3D printers where we were printing stuff on ABS and making carbon fiber out of it and stuff like that. Yeah. So we could be a lot more creative then. So, but you know, it's still a great industry, it's a great sport. I hope it gets going again properly this year. I think there's 15 races planned now. So yeah, I look forward to seeing it, you know, happen again.
Yeah. You lived a mechanic life in the early 90s, and then you ended your experience in 2014. Differences and similarities for a mechanic or a man with your role in those different centuries?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the sport had changed a lot as well, you know. So the difference between, you know, teams in the 90s when there was literally, you know, a handful of guys, you know, rebuilding the cars in the factory was completely different because we didn't have the support. You know, we were much smaller. I mean, I remember we went to 100 people in Whitney at Benetton. I thought this is getting crazy, out of control. And I think, you know, some teams have got 800 people now. So, you know, it's a totally different world. You know, mechanics have got build teams that they don't build their cars anymore because of the schedule. So they have a lot more time off, and which is good, you know, because it's intense at the track. I think that's something that should have happened a while ago, you know, because of the scheduling and, you know, the amount of time that they're away. So the industry's changed massively. My job role changed a lot from, you imagine, going in as a green mechanic and learning and working its way up, and then becoming chief mechanic was, yeah, you then have to learn to manage people, run different systems, etc. So all a great experience, which helped me later on in life, to be honest. You know, running, you know, and coordinating stuff with big, you know, big organisation.
Yeah, you lived the Schumi growth, first success. What about those moments and his actual tragic situation?
Well, I mean, they were fantastic days. I saw Michael change a lot as a person, year by year. He became very professional. He actually set the fitness standard that people, you know, run by today. He was the first person to be training 5 or 6 hours a day in the gym. No other F1 driver was doing that at the time. And he pushed the envelope in many ways. And you know, he's missed as a person, as a character, and as a friend. You know, I worked with him for 5 years, and we had an amazing time and stayed friends afterwards. And as for the you know, you can't, you know, the tragedy that happened is, you know, is mind blowing and extremely sad. And I'm actually, I'm pleased the way they've kept it so private. I think it's very professional. His wife's amazing, and family. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's just really sad to see anybody, you know, take those risks on a weekly basis, and then have a, you know, a skiing accident for that to happen. So yeah, condolences to his family.
Yeah, and then came Renault. Fernando Alonso, what about working with such an animal? Still driving everything, Dakar, endurance, esports, everything. Yeah. What about?
I mean, that's all Fernando wants to do is drive, you know, and, you know, it's great working with him. A great character, very, very passionate. You know, he's, you know, he's got a big heart, and he's a great guy. And that was a pleasure working with him. And I just think it just shows you what a racer he is. There's not many people that are like that, you know, these days that want to then, you know, keep going. And I know he wants to do the 500 and win that to be part of, you know, on his resume, and many more things. So I think since leaving Formula One, he's not phased him. He's actually probably made him stronger. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's somebody that all drivers should look up to, you know. And who knows, he might even be back in a Formula One car.
For you, he'll be back or not?
I don't know, but I think, you know, there's two sides to that. You see people leave and come back again, and it was a big mistake. Mm-hmm. I still think he's an incredibly fast driver, and I still think he's got, you know, he can still cut it with the best in Formula One today.
Yeah. Speaking of Benetton, speaking of Renault, speaking of Alonso, we'll arrive to Flavio Briatore. Many years with the Italian self-made man. He is missing in Formula One? Formula One is missing him, or?
I think so. I mean, I know he gets heavily criticised, and he also pushes the envelope with statements. And I remember when he had a share in the Ligier Prost Benetton, whatever, when he used to wear the half Benetton shirt, half Ligier shirt. He knew what he was doing. He knows about winding people up and playing a few games like that. But, you know, I really enjoyed working with him. He was really good to us in you know, in the way that the mechanics came first. You know, when the motorhome was full of journalists, you know, at lunchtime and stuff, it was simply clearing out everybody because the mechanics need to eat, you know. And I think that sort of gives you an idea of what a truly good person he is in his heart, you know, and he knew how hard we worked for him. So, yeah, no, I think he's missed as a character. I think Formula One needs these people because it becomes, a little bit robotic in some ways. It is a very corporate world now, and that has changed, but I still think there would be nothing wrong with, you know, having the likes of, you know, Flavio's character in the pit lane again.
Right. Then Red Bull, Vettel, it's an atypical Formula One team with some, I don't know how I can describe, Dr. Marco, Christian Horner, a really good team principal. What about those years? Curiosity, something peculiar, and the 4 straight titles of Vettel and Red Bull?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to answer there, but you know, I think Christian's done an amazing job keeping it all together in bad times too, as well as obviously enjoying the good times and hiring the right people in the right place at the right time to get the job done. He listens to people's views, he trusts you, and he's a great team principal. Dr. Marco is a slightly different level, and he works, you know, more into, you know, the driver performance side of things. Obviously, you know, he has a say in probably what happens in you know, across Toro Rosso, etc. So that all the driving stuff. You know, I think they've both got jobs to do, and they're both doing pretty well, very well. So, you know, Dr. Marco's found some great talent in his time, and he's done a super job. So, and it was a great working with them all.
A good family.
Yeah, good family. You felt like you were family when you were there.
Yeah.
So when you come into into a team that really is, you know, back of the grid team, you know, and you know, I went from the back to the front several times with different teams, between, you know, success, you know, not having success to having it, going away again, through the bad times at Renault with the difficult, engine problems we had, etc. So I think it's it's wonderful to be a part of that team and make it grow, and you grow together as people and individuals to enjoy the good times, but also experience the bad times and pull together. So I think, that's why it's called, that's why it's a team. That's why, it works so well when you get the right people in place.
Yeah, and during the Formula One weekend, I spent many times in the energy station, and it's a family, good ambient, so I can.
I've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, and Sebastian Vettel. Then you left in Red Bull. He went to Ferrari, and was a good choice for him. Looking to what has happened right now, he left Ferrari, and the future of Sebastian is unknown.
I think hindsight's great to look back and say, well, obviously it wasn't a good move. But if you talk to Sebastian about it, he'll probably throw a different line and say, well, actually, it was a very good experience for him, working with an Italian team and the great, prancing horse, etc. That's something that, although he didn't get the success that he wanted, it's still probably a very valid experience for him. I still think Vettel is one of the quickest drivers out there still. And, he's a smart guy as well. He's an intelligent person. But I can see they probably had other pressures at the time for him to go there and follow, his mentor, which was Michael Schumacher, in his footsteps. So, sometimes you get sold a dream and it doesn't quite work out.
Yeah. Are you in contact with him? Have you talked with him in the last years?
I saw him. We had a quite a decent long chat in China last year when I visited, because I was out there doing business with my current position at Byton, because we have the facility in China. So I happened to be there for that event.
But in the last months, no, you don't have any signal of the he left Ferrari and where he's going to.
No, and if I did, I wouldn't be able to say anything, because it's very private. So.
Yeah, when you left Formula One, is the end of the era, the old golden era of Formula One, and we have the hybrid era with the domination of Mercedes. The right decision to change and start with the hybrid?
Yeah.
Good question.
Politically, probably yes. I think the fuel saving at the time, I don't know if it's got much better now, was really questionable. So from that point of view, I think, it was so minimal for, investing, $100 million in an engine. Is this really the right direction? But, it's the manufacturers want it because that's what they're building in their cars. So from that point of view, you have to look at both sides. I think there's no question that anybody you talk to as a motor racing fan will go, yeah, but the V10, V12 days were the best days, just from the sound, from the energy they gave, and it's kind of old school racing, but things have to change and develop. So I think, one day we'll see our all-electric Formula One car in the future.
And speaking about all-electric cars, when you left Formula One, you started working with the Tesla. So yeah. I think the right path. And what about this experience?
Yeah, I mean, I was employed directly by Elon Musk. He reached out. We had 7 months of talks before we came up with a solution. I visited here in California, and I think having the opportunity to live in California at the right time of my life is definitely a massive thing. It's a great place to live. The weather's amazing. It's great. So that, and it was a huge position. It was global director of service innovation. So I was in charge of basic speeding up service, which I did with several projects, one of them being the mobile service truck, because everything I've basically done in my life has been mobile or on the road. So that was one of my projects, and many geofences and other things that came to fruition that are saving the company a lot of money. I think, yeah, that's it was a great experience, and then I was picked up by Byton, so and I'm replicating the same things there, and who knows what's around the corner.
Yeah, and had you worked on the rocket that left a week ago?
No, that's in a completely different business. That's SpaceX, and they're based down in LA, and I'm in Silicon Valley. So that's a completely different company.
And right now you're working with many things, and one of the simulator that, for example, Fernando Alonso using in his attempts and wins he had in last weeks with the e-sport. What do you think about this kind of virtual sport?
Well, I think it's helped motorsports immensely with the pandemic for a start. You know, it's up by 50%.
That's good.
And you can see how many young drivers are engaged in it. You know, Lando Norris and Max and many more. I think it's kept everybody entertained. I also think it's a great platform. I think there's also lots of different revenue streams you can get from it. Obviously, from streaming, which can bring in sponsorships, etc. And also, I think you know I'm working with a company in China to help build a training platform using same simulators, which are the AI simulators, which is a friend of mine owns that company, and Tom, who we work with I worked with him in Formula One and for many years, and he's a very good friend of mine. We were at Red Bull together as well. So it's one of those things that we're looking at. You know, it's not completely clear, but I think it's still got a massive amount of growth in that area for sure that people haven't looked into yet.
Yeah, and what will Kenny Handkammer do when he grew up?
I'll probably be dead then.
Well, I hope no, but we have a long time to spend again.
Yes, no, and you never know what's around the corner, Jay. There's lots of, although we're in a terrible time right now, there's, you know, it still can open lots of doors to different things, and you just have to stay focused and positive and try and get something good out of it.
There will be a desire, the possibility to see you in a sport and motor category, or not? Is closed that door?
You can never say never.
That's right.
I would have never thought I would have ever worked in Formula One. So that was a dream come true. I never thought I'd, you know, be able to win championships, one championship or one race. So all that's been a dream come true. So I've been very fortunate. And then I never ever thought I'd have an opportunity to live in Silicon Valley and have some amazing experience with, you know, directing the OEM companies. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it's been a lot of fun. But also quite challenging too.
Yeah, for sure. So, Kenny and Hankammer, really thank you very much. I hope to be back to talk to you soon and see you, I don't know, in the future.
Yeah, maybe I'll visit a race or something and we'll catch up.
Perfect. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Cheers.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.